Hi, this is Bruce Buffer, your voice of the Octagon, and you're listening to MMA Mental.
I'm now joined by David Michaud. Michaud is coming off of a win over Garrett Whiteley via unanimous decision, taking his record to 8-1 and his UFC record to 1-1. Thank you very much for joining me.
Hey, what's up?
And congratulations on picking up your first UFC victory.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it was a good time.
Right, let's talk a little bit about the build-up then. So, as you were coming off of a UFC loss, did you feel any added pressure going into this fight?
Well, yes and no. You know, my loss was on 2 weeks' notice, so I hadn't really. I mean, it was a split decision, so I didn't feel like. I mean, every loss sucks, but I think the UFC was kind of maybe not looking at it as bad as it could have been. But anytime you lose, you don't want to make a habit of it. So I definitely was planning on getting that win. Going into the fight, I had pretty much the best training camp I ever had. So I didn't feel pressure like I wouldn't perform. I was in better shape than ever. I had better training than ever, and I knew I'd be ready in that sense. So I felt like I was going to be good to go in that way. So I didn't feel too nervous about getting a win or not.
Now, Garrett had lost 2 previous fights in the UFC. What did you know about your opponent?
You know, he's a tough guy. He's decent everywhere, but with my wrestling, I knew that would be the difference. I knew if push comes to shove, I'd be able to just get a takedown and finish the fight on top. And the plan was to finish every round on top. He wasn't super dynamic with submissions off his back. He didn't really threaten people too much. So I knew being on top, he wouldn't be able to finish me. So even if, say, he had gotten a good strike and had hurt me on the feet, I still knew I'd be able to come back and get a takedown and kind of recover on top.
When you walked out to the cage, you got a great reaction. What was that like?
It was good. You know, I'm training down in Phoenix now, or Glendale. It's one of the suburbs of Phoenix at the lab. So a lot of fans were, if not necessarily, fans of mine, they were fans of the lab, because that's where Ben Henderson, Joe Riggs, John Moraga are from, and they know that I'm training with them, so they were supporting me. Plus, my walkout song was a little, I guess you could say, uncommon. I came out to a Taylor Swift song. Now, I'm pretty sure I'm the only one who's ever done that, but so I was trying to get people into a little party mode.
Now, going into the fight, you were able to control most of the first round. How did you feel the round went, and were you confident you'd won the round?
Yeah, I felt like I won the round on the feet, and then I hurt him towards the end of the round. I had a fake double leg into an uppercut. I felt like I kind of rocked him, and then I ended up getting a takedown with about 50 seconds left. So long, I felt like I thought that I won the round on the feet. I felt like, if anything, it was even. At the worst for me, it was even. So to get that takedown with the last 50 seconds left and end the fight and the round on top, that should have definitely given me the round.
Now, going into the second round, you got caught early in the second and dropped to the mat. How hurt were you from the strike?
No, that wasn't. I was like off balance, and he had caught me in the body with a kick while I didn't have my feet under me. So that wasn't a damaging strike. It wasn't something that I was still feeling going into the after. I just was off balance, and he landed a kick on me, and I went down.
Now, afterwards, you managed to secure a takedown on Garrett, and he landed a big elbow that busted you open. Were you surprised how effective his elbows were off his back?
Yeah, I think those were his most effective strikes of the whole fight. I really didn't feel like he landed a ton on the feet, but whenever I was on top in his guard is when he was landing a lot of elbows, and whenever he cut me, I had a super dominant position. I was in side control, and I was grinding on him trying to set up a submission, and he hits me with that short elbow and splits me open, and I just started gushing blood. So that was kind of weird. You don't really get too many elbow strikes from bottom side control, but that's where he split me open and really did the most damage.
There was a lot of blood. Were you worried the fight might be stopped?
I felt like it was on the side of my head. I wasn't too worried it'd be stopped, but it was getting in my eye for a while whenever it was first gushing out. But luckily, they didn't stop the action in the round. They let me keep fighting throughout the whole round. I hate when that happens, when you get the action stopped. But so I was happy they let me finish the round. And, we got the best cutman in the business in the UFC, and I figured he'd be able to clean me up, and he did. I didn't really bleed in the third round, so it was pretty good.
Now, you were both cut at the end of round 2, but you definitely had more success. Did you feel you were 2 rounds up?
Yeah, after the second round, I thought I was up 2-0 going into the third. I didn't want to, just give up the third, but I felt like I had won both rounds.
How tired did you feel going into that third round?
I don't know. I felt like going into it, I felt good. I didn't feel like I was as explosive as I thought I'd be going into the third, but I still felt like, I still had 5 hard minutes that I could do, and I ended up doing a lot of wrestling. I was on top the last about 3 minutes to win it, but he was moving forward a lot, and I couldn't get my feet under me to land anything substantive on the feet. So I decided just to get the takedown.
Now, you did score quite a few takedowns in that round. Did you just want to see the round out?
Well, you always want to finish, but at that point, like I was saying, I didn't feel like I was explosive enough to finish him on the feet to where I could, crack him and put him down, and I didn't feel strong enough to finish a submission unless I felt just perfectly clean where I wouldn't have to battle it. So, towards the last couple minutes of the round, it was just controlling and make sure I get the win, don't get finished.
When it went to the judges, how confident were you that you'd won the fight?
I was pretty, I think you could tell, looking at both of our body languages, as soon as the third round was over, we both knew that it was going to be my decision. As soon as it was over, I had my hands up and moving, and he had his head down and his hands on his hips.
How did you feel after the fight, and ideally, when would you like to get back into the octagon?
Well, I still feel pretty healthy. Like I tweeted after that I would like to fight February 14th in Denver or Broomfield, Colorado. That's the closest to my hometown that the UFC is going to come, and I'd like to jump on there. But it doesn't look like that's going to happen, so I'm just waiting, and hopefully early March I'll be able to get back in there.
After picking up your first win, who would you like to face next?
Anthony Pettis. No, it doesn't. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. I guess there's a lot of guys who have 1 or 2 wins in the UFC that I could be fighting, and I just hope I get a good opponent who's gonna come out and give me a good fight.
Well, I really appreciate you giving me your time, and congratulations on picking up your first UFC victory.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
And before we let you go, I just want to give you a chance to do any shout-outs. So anybody you want to thank, and like your sponsors, trainers, anyone you want to, and you want to shout out your social media as well.
Well, just thanks to all my coaches and training partners at the lab and Next Edge Academy and the Res Rumblers. But follow me on Twitter at Bulldog155 and check out my fan page on Facebook at David Bulldog Michaud.
Can't wait to see you step back in the cage again, David.
Thanks.
I am now joined by Drew Dober. Drew is coming off his biggest career win, beating Jamie Varner via round 1 submission, taking his record to 15-6 and his UFC record to 1-2. Drew, congratulations on your win, and thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you so much.
Now, when the matchup was made, how excited were you to face such a well-known veteran and former world champion?
I mean, when the fight offer was offered to me, I was extremely excited and felt pretty honored and privileged, to be able to fight a guy as renowned as Jamie Varner and a former world champion. Give this to me coming off of a loss. I just felt extremely privileged and honored. So, I accepted the fight immediately, and I was incredibly excited to prepare for it.
Now, you were 0-2 going in the UFC going into this fight. Did you feel any added pressure to get the win?
No, I mean, not really any added pressure. I mean, that, you lose and you get cut and that type of thing, but I don't really think about that. Every fight you have is the biggest fight of your life, and you always want to win, you never want to lose, and so there's never any added pressure. It's just the same, I guess.
Now, Varner is very well-rounded, so what was your game plan going into the fight?
The game plan, I'm currently moved out to Denver, Colorado to train with the monsters and elite athletes out here. So we wanted to more so worry about what I was doing and not about what Jamie was doing. We watched videos and we saw what he was capable of. But if I was able to accomplish what I was doing, control the fight my way and put forth my pace, I knew I'd mentally break him and slowly wear him down and get the W.
Now, this was a very quick fight, like you stated just before we come on air. Now, at the end of the fight came from an attempted takedown by Varner. Can you talk us through, starting from that attempted takedown, can you talk us through the end of the fight?
Okay, yeah. Our entire goal with the fight was just to keep patient. We knew that he kind of gets frustrated, and he's a very emotional fighter, and I know I'm very durable, and I knew I could take it into deep waters, and that's what our game plan was. We threw a couple exchanges. I tagged him with a lead hook. I'm going to have to rewatch it. I don't know what all happened. But then I got the double underhook, and it's a superior position. I just wanted to play with it, see, how his wrestling was, kind of feel each other out. I kind of lost my patience and went for that outside trip. More so was just trying to make action happen. I'm a very, entertaining fighter. I like doing things and keep moving. I don't like, being boring. So the takedown attempt was horrible, but then he went for his takedown attempt, and I was ready to scramble back up to our feet after he, arched his back and went for that throw. But as soon as he hit the ground and I went to get back up, he was just continuing to, I told him to relax. I don't know if it was, him hitting his head or him just kind of giving up, but I told him to relax a little bit, and so I immediately took advantage and took mounts and tried to make it like a living hell.
Yeah, I mean, after you got the mount then, he tried to push his way out, and of course he gave his back up. Talk us through the situation.
I was crossing my legs underneath his thighs, really trying to prevent him from rolling to his stomach. I felt like him being a good wrestler, that would be the only way for him to get out of mount, was turning to his stomach. So I had to try my best to keep him flat on his back and punish him. And then finally when he did roll to his stomach, I wanted to put my hooks in and pretty much just make things uncomfortable for him. I put my forearm against his jaw and hooked that up. And really I was just going for, just making him hurt, making him, regret fighting me, that type of thing. Put a lot of pressure on him. I never really thought he was going to tap to it, but then of course he did.
Now, at the end of the fight, after you'd got the win, Varner announced his retirement. What was it like to be in the cage when he announced his retirement?
Can you repeat that?
Yeah, at the end of the fight, after you'd got the victory, Jamie Varner announced his retirement. What was it like to be in the cage with him when he announced his retirement?
He's been fighting for quite a long time, and he's fought top 10 fighters in the world for quite some time. So I wasn't really thinking much. I got on my knees, gave him respect, and just let him do his thing. It's a mixture of feelings, I'm sure, for both him, me, and then everyone else to see such a guy retire. But it's good to see him retire in the UFC, then get cut, and then see him struggle in smaller promotions, and that's what he even does.
How did it feel for you to get your first UFC victory against such a big name?
It's incredibly surreal. You know, I'm gonna answer this honestly. I expected to do well in the UFC in my first 2 fights. Didn't go my way, but I think I performed very well. So I moved out to Denver, Colorado to kind of fix where I felt was lacking. And going into this fight, I felt like I fixed it. So I knew I was going to win. It was just a matter of when and you know how. And so that's why, you know, after the fight was over, I didn't jump on the cage and celebrate too hard. It was just I knew and I expected to win. And so when it finally happened, then it wasn't a huge surprise to me.
How do you feel in yourself after the fight? And ideally, when would you like to get back into the cage?
How did I feel after the fight?
Yeah, how do you feel? Have you got any injuries, knocks? And ideally, when would you like to get back into the cage?
You know, it's all fantastic after the fight. And did you ask when I think about getting back in the cage?
Yeah, when would you like to get back in?
Oh yeah, I would love to. When, you know, I'm gonna spend my Christmas in Germany, so I'm gonna take a little time off, kind of relax, and got some bumps and bruises and stuff like that I need to heal up. But you know, doing some light training and doing some off-season work, improve the things that I feel like I need to improve on since this fight, and then. Once I come back from Germany, then get back in the routine of training, you know, twice a day, every day, and then from then on, we'll take the next fight. I'm looking probably, I don't know, March.
Now, after picking up your first UFC victory, who would you like to face next?
Who would like? Oh, anybody. You know, I just watch UFC all the time. There's a ton of guys in the lightweight division that I would love to fight. You know, I'm still a grunt. I got my first win. I'm not in the area to start calling people out and thinking I'm the best. So, but I'm willing to fight anybody. So. Top 10 guys, other grunts, you know, just other UFC fighters. I'm ready for anyone. Where I prefer to fight is somebody exciting, somebody that I can share a fight of the night with. That'd be, awesome.
Well, I really appreciate you giving me your time, and congratulations on picking up your first UFC victory.
Thank you.
Before we let you go, Drew, I just want to give you a chance to do some shout-outs. If there's anyone you want to thank, trainers, sponsors, and also let people know about your social media.
Yes, I would, love to thank everyone, the teams here in Denver, Colorado, the teams that raised me in Omaha, Nebraska, and of course everybody in Phoenix, Arizona, and the UFC. You know, those 3 cities. You know, one raised, one trained, and then the events took place in Arizona. And you know, I love the support and especially the fans of the UFC. So I want to thank all of them.
Well, I can't wait till you step back into the cage.
Thank you so much.
I am now joined by Angela Hill. Angela is coming off of a successful UFC debut, beating Emily Kagan at the TUF 20 the Ultimate Finale, taking a record to 2-0 and a pro record to a UFC record to 1-0. Angela, thank you very much for joining me.
Hey, thanks for having me.
And congratulations on winning your UFC debut.
Yeah, it was definitely a good one for me.
Let's start with the Ultimate Fight then. So what was it like for you to be part of the cast for the Ultimate Fighter?
It was pretty crazy. I mean, everything about this year has been pretty surreal. So just getting on the show for me was a pretty huge accomplishment. And then every day just felt crazy, you know. I mean, for lack of a better word, you know, because I'm a pretty big MMA fan as well. So I'm not just a fighter. Like, I geek out when I meet people like Arvine and, like, you know, Bruce Buffer and stuff like that. So like, the whole experience was really cool, and I got to meet a bunch of really cool people, and just being able to train with like Gilbert Melendez and all the girls on the team was a great experience in itself.
Now, going into the house, you were 1-0, and of course, they introduced the seeding system. Did you feel disadvantaged by the seeding system? What were your views on that system?
Well, I was pretty confident going in there, so at the time I didn't really care. But, you know, and I ended up making a mistake, and I felt like if I had been against someone else, they wouldn't have been able to capitalize on the mistake as much as Carla was able to. So it kind of sucked because I didn't really get to show off what I could do or gain too many new fans just from being on the show. But if anything, it kind of set me up to be in a good spot because now people don't really know what I'm capable of, and I'll just be able to surprise them each time like I did this weekend.
What was it like as well, sharing the house with 15 other women?
What's that?
What was it like for you sharing the house with 15 other women?
Oh, I mean, I kind of was okay with it. Like, it was a small price to pay for being there, but I know a lot of the other girls were, like, kind of traumatized or just were, like, slowly going crazy. So, I don't know. I didn't think it was that bad. Like, the worst part was probably knowing your opponent and then trying to, like, not have awkward, like, encounters with them while you're waiting to fight them. But, like, I don't know, I'm the type of person who, if I get a matchup, I'll end up stalking the person online anyway, so it's kind of nice to be able to, like, like, look around into the other room and see what my opponent's doing, and yeah, I don't know, it was a weird experience. Like, it was definitely a weird experience, but, like, I don't know, I'd totally do it again if I got the opportunity.
Who were some of your best friends in the house?
Before in the house, I'm bonded with Rose and Beck and the other Angela for the most part.
Now, there seem to be quite a few personality clashes in the house, so which of the girls got on your nerves?
I don't know. It's hard to say. Like, there were a couple who ended up, I ended up finding out that they had a problem with me after the show was over. So, but, like, for the most part, I didn't really have too many conflicts with anyone. Like, a lot of people dislike Heather, but, I mean, we wouldn't, like, really clash too much, like, and it was the same with the other girls, I guess, who we didn't really get along with. Me personally, like, I didn't hate anyone on the show, so so it was like, it is what it is. I understood that there were people with different personalities, and I wasn't gonna be best friends with everyone, but yeah, I didn't really dislike or hate anyone who was there.
Now, in the opening round of matches as well, Team Lenders really struggled in the fights. How did this affect team morale?
I don't know. It like, from the get-go, Dana came in, and I think it was when Tisha went to the other team, Dana came in, and he said, look, it's not a team sport. So I think, at least from that point on, everyone was kind of like, okay, every man for themselves, and just because one person lost didn't mean that you expected yourself or, another teammate to lose. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't think, I think what we learned off of Team Melendez was we learned some really cool skill set, a lot of wrestling and stuff, which you really see is lacking, especially in women's MMA, which is probably why Carla's been so dominant. So it was cool learning from them and, learning different techniques that they use. And, so, yeah. I don't know. Like, team morale was pretty much the same. Like, obviously, going into each fight, we were really happy and really confident, and then when someone would lose, then we'd just be like, dang, and it would suck for the moment, but I think everyone who was going up thought that they were going to be the one to pull us out of the losing streak, and when it didn't happen, it was just like, I don't think it was much of a team morale thing that was affecting us, especially since we knew once you get past the first round, you're going to have to fight your teammate anyway. So I don't know. If anything, it was, after you fought, it was a little bit of a relief, and we all just got behind Rose once that first thing was over with, and just tried to help her as much as we could, just because, you know, we liked her and because she was a good chick and deserved to win. So yeah.
What was it like for you as well, for you personally, training with Gilbert Melendez and his team?
It was really cool. Like I said, we learned a lot of cool things, a lot of good technique and stuff. And they weren't drill sergeants, but they made you work. Like, they didn't just make us do tedious work, or they didn't just make us, like, you know, hit the bag for 20 minutes and then do 100 push-ups and do this and that. Like, they actually, like, would work technique with us and break down things that will and won't work, and, you know, just try to add on to what we had, or what skills that we had already, just to make us a better fighter for our fights coming up.
Now, in the finale, you were matched up with Emily Kagan. What were your views on her as an opponent?
I knew she was tough. Like technically, I felt like I was better, especially in the striking department. But I knew that she was really tough, and I knew she only had one loss against Rose, who made it to the final. So, you know, I didn't think that it would be an easy fight at all. And you know, even after I rocked her, she still hung in there for all 3 rounds. So, you know, I was right, you know, like, she was definitely really, really tough, and yeah, that was mostly what I was going with when I was getting ready to fight her.
What was it like for you personally as well to be the opening bout on a UFC event in Vegas?
It was pretty scary, but at the same time, I knew that by the time I really psyched myself out, and by the time I would have gotten real nervous, it'd be over already. So it was kind of nice going first, because I got to just, like, you know, rip off the Band-Aid. But, like, I only had maybe a couple hours to start to get the jitters, and you know, once that happened, I was already out in the cage, and, you know, they were already calling my name. So it's like, you know, good and bad parts to it. But I was happy, especially once it was over. You know, obviously I was happy that I got it over with, and then I got to sit back and watch the rest of the fights.
Now, talking a little bit about the fight, you had a really strong first round. How close do you feel you were to finishing the fight in the opening round?
I mean, a lot of people said that it probably should have been stopped 1 or 2 times in the first and second round. But you know, she like, as soon as I thought that she was gonna quit, she would, like, reach for my leg, you know, or, like, she would just, like, kind of, you know, throw a wild punch back or something. So, you know, like, I thought I was pretty close to finishing her, but obviously I didn't. So I definitely have some things to work on when it comes to that, just, like, nailing the head in the coffin or whatever, and just, you know, maybe mixing it up a little more so that she didn't know what was coming next, and once I rock him, I'll be able to put him down.
I mean, round 1 was strong, but round 2, if anything, was probably even stronger than the first round. I mean, your striking looked absolutely phenomenal. Were you surprised when the bell went that she was still... That's all right. Were you surprised when the bell went that she was still in the fight? Because she took a lot of punishment.
Surprised or what?
When the bell went at the end of round 2, the amount of punishment you'd given her with the elbows, the knees, were you surprised she was still in the fight?
Yeah, I mean, I thought that maybe they might stop it on like, in between rounds after the second, but I was ready to keep going, because, like, you know, she was still fighting back pretty strong, and every time I did rock her, it would just take her a few seconds for, like, her brain to reboot or whatever, and then she'd start coming back forward. So yeah, like, at that point, nothing would have surprised me. Like, I always planned for the worst, and I was pretty sure she was going to answer the bell, even though I was hoping she didn't, just because I was pretty tired at that point.
Now, in the third round, she finally got you down. She got you down a couple of times, but you got straight back to your feet. which obviously shown how well-rounded you are, and you caused Emily Kagan even more damage. How pleased were you with your overall performance?
I'm pretty happy with it. I wish if I were to do anything differently, I would have gone for my own takedowns because that's what I've been really working on, is just like attacking with my grappling as well as defense. So I wish I would have been able to show just a little more of my offensive grappling. But I think I just kept the fight where I was most comfortable with, when I knew she was getting rocked, I was hoping for the knockout, just because that's something that's a little more rare in our weight class. Like, you don't usually see knockouts; you usually see submissions when people finish their opponents. So I was hoping for that knockout, and it seemed pretty close to getting stopped. So I was really hoping for it. But yeah, I think if I were to do it again, I might have mixed up a little more grappling in there, especially once I got her days, just to show that I could.
How did you feel after the fight, and ideally, when would you like to get back into the cage?
I felt great, like nothing's sore, nothing's bruised, and I'm ready to fight. I would fight next weekend if I could, so I'm just waiting for that call, and and I'll be training up until then, and yeah, I'm ready to go immediately.
Now, potentially, of course, this is a brand new division. There's a lot of good matches for you. Who would you like to face next?
I don't really fight anyone, and I don't know. It really depends on who the UFC is trying to build up, I guess. But I'm open to fighting anyone. I'll fight grappler, I'll fight striker, I'll fight anyone in division, because I really felt like in my fight with Carla, I kind of. It was my mistake that made me lose the fight, not the other way, or not her doing something that it was better than what I could handle. I think I just kind of screwed up on the moment, and so I'd really fight anyone who would just get me closer to getting that free match and closer to getting me another title fight. So I'd more so want to fight the higher ranking girls in the strawweight division. I think a lot of people want to see me versus JoJo just because we're both Muay Thai fighters. I think a lot of people want to see me versus Paige Van Zant just because she got that TKO recently. But I'm open to anyone. I just beat number 15, so if number 14 Randos is next, then we can make that happen too. So I'm good to go with whoever's going to get me closer to that title fight.
I really appreciate your time today, and congratulations on picking up your first UFC win.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
And before we let you go, I just want to give you a chance to do any shout-outs. Is there anyone you want to thank? Any family, friends, obviously sponsors, and also shout out any social media you want to shout out as well?
If you want to follow me, you can follow me at Angie Overkill on Twitter and Instagram. And then I also have a Facebook page. It's just like facebook.com/Angela Hill MMA. And I'd like to thank my team, Triple G Sports Academy out of Nashville, North Carolina. They really just helped me hone all my skills and put everything together in a package as opposed to just teaching me to sprawl. So I think moving here was a really good choice. So I'm really thankful for them, and my coach Chad McFadden, my training partner Cody Gully. He's a really great fighter, 135er, and he's just been basically my my punching bag for the entire fight camp. So I really want to thank him as well. My husband Adam for just being there for me, holding pads for me, being my Muay Thai instructor now that we moved out here to North Carolina. I want to thank my Muay Thai coach in New York, Brandon Levi of Evolution Muay Thai, and everyone out there. And then, all the sponsors who've hooked me up since I've been fighting MMA, Century MMA, East Coast MMA Fight Shop, Scramble, and Torque, which is a new one. So thank you guys for all that good stuff. And just my family and friends for continuing to support me and believing in me. That's a lot. But yeah, there you go.
Well, I look forward to seeing you step back into the octagon.
Thanks. I'm looking forward to it too.
I hope you enjoyed listening to this week's interviews. I'll be back again soon with more interviews. To hear more UFC post-fight interviews, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is MMA Mental. You can also follow me on Twitter at MMA Mental and like my Facebook page, MMAmental.com.